Who is Tom Dahl?
They laugh and say that Tom Dahl would get them if they stayed out after dark.
I'm just warning you, his appearance might be a bit of a shock.
One day, he decides to drive around the town with the cap off, setting fire to the entire town.
And, for the love of God, don't say his name.
Tom Dahl is an indie horror game where you start your new job in a small city as a police officer, tasked to watch over a cell of the infamous Tom Dahl. Once you arrive to the job, you're greeted by an officer who gives you the rundown and the general gameplay loop. All you have to do is watch Dahl's cell, but whatever you do, don't talk to him, don't look away for too long, and don't you ever say his name. Now, there is a guard you can swap places with when he reaches your spot, allowing you to discover more about this mysterious town. But don't walk around for too long, otherwise Tom Dahl may creep out, and you may be his next victim. Now's your time to play the game. If you don't want spoilers for any of the story or anything that happens, the game is voice acted and it's a really interesting playthrough. I definitely recommend it. And I do want to mention, before I go into the story too much, I am going to be pulling clips from ArthurTV's video, because he was the person I watched play the game and how I formed my opinions, and it's also like the easiest way for me to explain how I came to certain conclusions, because that's what the perspective I was watching from. So if you want to watch that video first, it's in the description. If you want to just watch that video and then skip to my theory, that's fine, but I do highlight certain points that I bring up later in my conclusion, so it's up to you. For those of you that already know the game, I will be running through the game and its story, so skip to this time skip. I know it's far into the video, I kind of made the skip way too long recapping the game. That's my bad. Context important. With all that said, here's my theory on the game Tom Dahl. I'm not sure if it already exists, but here we go. There is something peculiar about Dahl's cell. Once you walk past the first two, this third cell has completely clear walling and a red line around it. But more importantly, you see no one in the cell. You're warned of his ghastly appearance and how he might try to ask you questions, yet no one seems to exist in this cell. You don't really question it and take a seat, ensuring you do not pass out. The first guard comes around, allowing you to take a little walk around. There's a table nearby with an email open up on the computer. It seems to be from the former officer who watched over Dahl's cell. You're told, before you started the day, that the last guy didn't follow the rules, and his email reads that he can feel Tom's eyes burning through him. All the man does is stare. He's like the devil. Every time someone says his name, something bad happens. It really builds Tom to be this terrifying, eerie character, yet you cannot see him. The next thing you do is talk to the warden. Someone the email describes as a walking corpse who rips Tom's name like it's nothing and just laughs it off. His dark, scratchy voice is a product of the fire Tom caused.
The fire. Long story short, Tom Dahl was a truck driver. One notably dry summer evening, he drove a fuel truck around the whole town with the valve open. Burnt the whole town and a couple 100 miles of forest to the ground. We were surrounded on all sides by fire. Many people died. I have him to thank for my appearance and for the death of my family.
People tried to stop him, but they were too late. There was already a small fire set up at the end of the town, and when Tom drove past it, everything went up in flames. He had cut off exits and strategically planned it all to do as much damage as possible. This killed the warden's family, many families, and permanently scarred the people of that town for life. He describes Tom as a strange kid. Growing up, kids were scared of him. He was treated as some sort of boogeyman. His eyes would stare intensely through you, and he hardly spoke. Tom lived up alone in his cabin his whole life. The reason for his actions? Unknown. He was seen through eyewitness account, and when he was arrested, he never spoke a word. How had he gotten out unscathed?
The officers say that they shot him that day, but he wouldn't go down. How is that possible? He just stared straight ahead, both hands on the wheel, as if someone was making him do it, and then surrenders.
How did he get spared when everyone else was burned? There are some interesting things the warden says to us, and that we see in his file that I would like to mention. In the warden's file it says,
I get this terrible ringing in my ears when I'm around his cell. It's like he's got a hold on all of us, and he won't let go.
and
He just stares at me with those eyes. Those cold, dead eyes.
there was also a very interesting question in this dialogue with the warden. That is, can you see him? To which the warden replies,
Yes, of course I can. Why?
implying you not being able to see him is odd. He also tells you about the former worker, who has a different name to the one on the email, and is stated to have looked away from Dahl's cell, that being the last time Dahl tried to escape. It seems this Dahl fellow, the man you cannot see, is an incredibly slippery, eerie, and terrifying guy. The final thing I want to highlight in this interaction is this line.
They'd laugh and say that Tom Dahl would get them if they stayed out after dark. In a way, he sort of already escaped. The news helped with that.
You can also find a newspaper from the day of the incident, describing the atrocities in more detail, but nothing else of note aside from the other cells are accessible. One of the cells contains something which you can see, but cannot reach, and one is open, allowing you to walk inside, but that's pretty much it. Also, if you go to the toilet, it says that Tin Shack Dave, the guy on watch before you, took a Tin Shack dump, which is pretty funny.
Smells like Tin Shack Dave took a Tin Shack dump.
Anyways, if you do all this, you may have accidentally left the guard on watch for too long, and he dozed off into dreamland. If this happens, when you go back to the cell to check up on him, you're hit with this.
Wait, he's gone. Oh, what the
The officer on watch is within Dahl's cell, and his head literally explodes. The door creaks open, and not long later, you die.
The lights have gone out. I die.
If you're able to make it past this, you're on into a new character. Dr. Raymond Adams is the psych they call from time to time, as he puts it. He's here to evaluate the guy in the cell next to Dahl, so he sets up a seat right next to you. Talking to the doctor, you immediately confront him about how there is no one in the cell. The doctor gives you a strange response, saying,
You can't see him? Interesting. Everyone around here can see him, probably because of the fire. I've never met anyone that couldn't see him around here. Maybe it's because you're not from around here? I don't know, maybe that's why.
It's not much of an explanation, but I'll talk about this later. Raymond was never able to evaluate Tom. All he does is stare. Just like what he is supposedly doing to you at that moment in time. He tells you that
Some officers have sworn they've experienced strange things while being around him. See things, hear things, experience things. Some people get sick or get headaches. Some even say they've experienced a ringing in their ears. The last guy, well, I don't want to talk about that. Ask the warden if you really want to.
he tells you more about the fires, and also tells you that he's not originally from this place, but is here because the work brought him here. However, he was clearly here during the fires, as he initially mentions. You can talk to the warden again, but he just tells you about how he hooked Dahl up to some jumper cables, trying to get info out of him, but Dahl just took it. As you sit back down, you notice your reflection makes it look like you're inside.
Seeing your reflection makes it look like you're inside.
You hear the crashing of thunder outside, and your vision darkens as you get more and more sleepy watching his cell. You hear more loud bangs from outside. As you are relieved by the guard and open the door to the warden's office, a gruesome sight awaits you. There he sits, with a large splatter of blood on the wall behind him. The sound of his shot rung loud, but you were the first to come across such a horrific sight. There lies on the desk in front of him a note, his suicide note. Reading through Warden Andrew Grant's note, he warns you of Tom, but also tells you to treat him kindly. He apologizes to all he feels he's let down in his life, and finishes off the note with,
He won today, but he won't win tomorrow. Andrew Gant.
As you do a quick loop of the area, once more, something peculiar happens. The bathroom where Tin Shack Dave took a Tin Shack dump is gone. You resume your shift and are greeted by the text.
Monsters aren't real, but he is.
Very odd to think about for a guy you can't see. As you struggle to keep awake, you hear a noise. Look over and see a flame. a flame from Tom's cell. You look around. No one else seems to notice. The red line surrounding Dahl's cell is slowly consumed by a burning trail until it sneaks into the cell next door. You hear the desperate yelps of pain and fear from the man in the cell next door. His body's writhing about in pain as he attempts to escape his cell. The game now lets you stand up and walk around, regardless of whether the other guard can fulfill your position. You can look through the doctor's note on Dahl. It appears he is a lifeless, non-responsive patient whom only stares. You can no longer talk to the doctor, and the game starts to get really odd. The grated door you entered through is now missing. You're trapped in a block of cells. You ring the fire alarm in hopes of saving the poor inmate who was burned alive in his cell. This opens up the cell I mentioned earlier, the one with something in it which you cannot reach. You walk inside and fall to the ground, blacking out. When you come to, you can inspect the drawing, and when you flip it over, it eerily reads,
Dahl, Dahl, Mr. Dahl, who's the scariest of them all? Look away, run you might, he's sure to give you quite the fright.
You were given a flashlight in the now pitch black cell block, and all doors leading anywhere except into the cells are gone. It seems surreal, like a nightmare almost. In this odd dream, all you can really do is resume your duty, so you take a seat and focus on the cell. This time you don't have to stay awake, but after a short while, the door creaks open. Your cursor can somehow hover over something named Tom Dahl. You get up. Tom Dahl is right in front of you. You hear an aggressive buzzing, and your screen begins glowing red. Tom Dahl is here, and he has you. You have to run. You can't see him, but your cursor can indicate him if you manage to pick him up, alongside the buzzing. In this confined space, your only safe option is the cell door you open and close. Once behind it, he tries breaking in, but unsuccessful. He walks away. In the cell opposite you, locked behind the bars, staring into the far corner of the wall away from you, stands the other officer on duty. In order to get away, you have to escape via the emergency exit, and so you do. What awaits you is haunting. The whispers of an unknown person walking around in pitch blackness. As you turn around, all you can see is a dimly lit wooden cabin. The whisper repeats the phrase on the back of the painting from earlier.
Dahl, Dahl, Mr. Dahl, who's the scariest of them all? Look away, run you might, he's sure to give you quite the fright.
And the cabin door slowly creaks open. All that greets you, 2 dotted eyes and a flame. When your vision recovers, you turn to see an off-putting sight. A number of people are facing towards you, seemingly bowing down or praying. Behind them, a welcome sign to the town, ablaze in an orange hue as a red sun rises from behind it. The music is haunting. Sounding like the howling of wind, until it is broken by the horn of a truck. And that's the game. We never at any point see Tom Dahl, nor do we know what was going on at the end, and why. The theory the creator I was playing had, Arthur, and many commenters, was that we are Dahl.
I think the Shutter Island take might have been right. I think the reason I couldn't see him is because I was Dahl, and I think that's why everyone was bowing down to us in the end.
And while I believe there is credibility to this, I was under a different impression. I think that Dahl is dead. You cannot see him, because you never saw him when he was alive. You didn't share in the trauma that everyone else did when he murdered thousands, yet you are convinced he is real. Isn't it strange how he is driving a truck, which should either be full of or at least have a little gasoline left in it, which was lit on fire to burn the town down, yet he remains unscathed? He was shot at, and his tires punctured, yet he was able to emerge uninjured? And he never once says a word, no one hooked up to jumper cables, or even to gloat. Perhaps he died from the fire, the same day everyone else did. Everyone's shared trauma from the event and their already demonized image of the man kept him alive all this time. This is where I want to consider the warden's dialogue, specifically about how he says he's already escaped.
In a way, you sort of already escaped.
Just from people talking about him in that way, exactly as the warden does to you about Dahl. The idea of him and the thought of uttering his name plagued this town to the point that, alive or dead, they would still live in fear of him. This delusion doesn't spread to you, at least not at first. The moment you find the corpse of the warden, his final statement, and gory end you discover him in, combined with the continued idea that this terrifying demon man exists, has real power on you. And you are the one watching him. You have to watch him, but as you do, your mind begins to unfold. The idea he exists, the arson he committed and the lives he's taken, and now he's mere feet from you, consumes you. You lose your mind in there, whether it be the combination of the lack of sleep and continued fear being instilled in you, or the raw trauma finding such a horrific sight moments ago. You run around the prison block, convinced this freak is real. You fall into a cell, a picture on the wall inscribed with that phrase mentioned before. Reading the inscription, you're haunted by Dahl further. Is he chasing me? Is he after me? I must look away. I must run. You feel like there's no escape, like he's right behind you. So you run out the emergency exit. It's late at night. You run outside, believing to be at the log cabin Dahl lived for so long. His cold, dark eyes finally staring at you from behind the door, and perhaps you get a glimpse into his delusion. As you lay your eyes upon the ritual before you, perhaps Dahl viewed himself as a righteous god who needed to burn everyone, the red sun tempting him to set the town alight. But you hear a noise. You're not in the woods. You're not at a log cabin. There is no fire. You just ran out the emergency exit of a police building like a maniac, so consumed in your fear you didn't notice the car speeding around the bend straight towards you, and neither does the car until it's too late. So yeah, that's basically my whole theory. Does it exist already? Who knows? I didn't research because I didn't want my unfiltered opinions to be influenced by existing ideas and evidence, so that it's less of a recap and more of a personal experience / reflection on the story. I do hope you enjoyed, and if you want to see more theory videos, let me know. Also, let me know if I talk too much about the story. I feel like the script is really top heavy and isn't exactly focused on my theory, but let me know how you feel in the comments. With that, see ya.